welcome everyone to Siberia, and today I'm off to prepare the harvesters for the upcoming harvest. As you can hear, I wasn't lying about the randomness of my accent. Now I'm going to not soften the R. I always forget to use the optimization mod that the AK sent me. It's like I remember it all the time, except for the time to actually put it in the... Oh, it's funny how the mirror is correct on just one side of the harvester. So yeah, what I wanted to do is take these harvesters and this like, I don't know, split them into particular sections. So what I'm gonna do... I said. So yeah, these two are different, I'd say, from the other ones, as they lack the... they have slower work speed, so I put them together so that there is no loss of efficiency for every single harvester, because if these others have, I think, like 13 kph, then I'd rather them work only with themselves. And I would rather use these ones separately, so that they don't slow down the rest, and that they, I don't know, they would... I think I would use them to harvest canola. The canola in question, I've said it before, we're gonna convert it into... You can say I finally bought the forage mixer. That's a great lag. The forage mixer, although I kinda complained that it isn't articulated as the in-game model suggests, but I thought that in the end it's actually better. It would turn better and be more maneuverable. It also has a nice feature of being able to load silage for itself with this invention in the rare. Goes hard. So yeah, I didn't edit these harvesters so that they are both slow in the field and on the road, which I wish they weren't, because this is a different dawn, like based off different model, because these I already own. I think they're... although they look good, their model dates as far back as to FS13. And the thing is, with FS17, which I really like, is that it's actually, in my honest opinion, it's the best farming simulator if we ever had to like have one single farming simulator for them to stay, because the FS17 can both utilize better FS11 or 11, I mean, like mods like this class Lexion models from FS11 and 13, and also it can take some models from even FS22. Excuse me. So yeah, the what I want... yeah. So that's why the I think FS17 is the best. I mean, it's not the only reason. It wouldn't be enough. It also is the case of the scripts, because, you know, I really like the fact that they eventually added actual like productions as a normal feature in FS22. But in my honest opinion, it's not really enough, and as I think of it, that they're not adding enough mechanics. Like, for how many years basically the crop mechanic is still the same. For example, I mean, I don't know, they only added like some modifiers in FS22. That isn't even an overhaul. For so many years there wasn't an overhaul of this. Meanwhile, we should already have one. Because I think it's the current system is very primitive, and I have no idea how anyone in their right mind would actually pay any money to play a FS22 with no mods, because you know it's a new FS. I'm talking about FS25, of course. I don't know how anyone in their right mind would actually pay any money for this. If you don't have any mods, at least no converts this quickly. You also have probably script mods that were in previous farming, but they will be cut down to size and they will lack something, like Seasons mod, how it was adapted to FS22 with missing features. And on the top of that, they added some crop type that is grown only in some Indonesia or other Japan and some parts of the US, and they didn't add rye, which can grow on some fucking concrete. I'm kinda brutal right now, but it's actually hilarious how a farming simulator game still doesn't have rye. I think it. I mean, I saw it only in mods, but you know, it's kind of dumb argument that, oh, but it's in the mods. Yeah, like, remember which game studio wanted also would put every like major implementation on the modders? That would be Bethesda. So basically, what I really don't like about Giant Software is that they expect the modders to do everything, and there still wasn't an overhaul of the crop types. So for instance, is it the wheat texture changed? Oh no, it's not wheat. Yeah, that would make sense. Because I recognize this texture from older farming simulators. So, as I said, I don't know how anyone in their right mind would pay for just adding a crop. That's basically what you could do in FS09. It just didn't look as good. That's the only difference. In the very nature of itself, it's just as much as adding some crop type to storages and sell points, and probably it won't be balanced out because yet they still haven't added that not every soil can support every type of fruit, which is obvious, but apparently not in this game. And for example, you can just plow a forest that was growing on some clay or sand, and you can plant wheat there, and it will grow perfectly as long as you fertilize it, which kinda doesn't make sense to add even to add any type of grain that grows its advantage is that it grows anywhere, which is, and as I said, is so dumb. And there will be like tons of people who say that I expect too much, unironically, or that they are satisfied with what they have right now. And to them I say, well, if you're satisfied with this much, then you could just go back to FS19 or even earlier and just play vanilla, because or like with minimal mods, because it wouldn't change a lot. Because if you're actually satisfied with what they bring, that means that basically you don't know how to download mods or how to search them. That, I don't know. Because for instance in FS13 there was this soil mod, and to this day Giant Software didn't beat it in terms of different fertilizers for different fruits and stuff. And people will be like, oh, but still complaining, but it's simplistic, it's supposed to be like some, how was it? Power fantasy for farmers and stuff. Like, yeah, but from that what I know, like only a quarter of farming simulator players are in real life any what related to farming. And if you didn't know, let me, I'm out of Polish, but you can disable some functions like withering of crops, or do you need to plow, or do you need to fertilize it 3 times. And the same goes for every single feature of the soil, which is, in my opinion, even like dumb to turn off in any other reason to just set up a save and make it quicker, or I don't know. But is it really the future of farming simulator, paying every 3 years 40 euros for some meaning, for now on only probably some meaningless brand, some totally exotic and detached from reality fruit type that nobody gives anything about, like cotton in FS19. Like, who gives a shit? Like, really? It was something in FS13, and someone made some mod for this John Deere harvester, and probably the same model was since FS09, because the only one who would ever use it was some dudes that played these overly multi-fruit maps. There were such that in FS13 that they had like 2000 multi-fruits, you know. So what I think it's just hilarious actually, how it's turning out to just like basically the only advantage Giant Software has over these dudes who just put a lot of multi-fruit in their maps is that their maps were usually ugly, and the fact that the textures were ugly. So basically, if back in the time someone would get some proper textures, at least, I mean, proper to the convention of the game, so that it looks somewhat in the same at the same level. You know what I mean? So that you don't have some 4K textures next to a 512 pixel one. They would put it into a map, balance it out, or even not, and it would be considered, and it would be pretty much the same that Giant Software does for 3 years for 40 euro per game. Also, there's tons of DLCs to actually get some like let's play or something. They added, for example, they added the mechanic of the orchard type fruits, right? And what they didn't do, of course, is add actual orchards of like apples, pears and stuff. They expect the modders to do it, but of course they won't. Why? Because they are busy making the same model of some tractor or something, because they increase the standard of models. So that's what I'm talking about. Back in the time when there were more people that would actually just make some mod of, I don't know, adding some silly scripted crops. For example, like carrots harvested with this green maxtron or something. I don't know. But at least there was someone who actually made something in this direction. Now it's just adding fruits that nobody would even consider adding carrots and make it realistic, because, well, to make them realistic you would need some to model out some vehicles, and nobody would do it because, you know, people are, I think it's some kind of thing that that people don't really want anything new in this game. Like, they only want to harvest wheat and stuff. Because I once heard of some Polish YouTuber opinion, which is extremely dumb, but it actually might be true, that Giant Software knows better what we want, then we want. Because sometimes, yeah, it makes sense sometimes, because they add a DLC of a region that wasn't really appreciated before, or that it had very small community and nobody wanted to make it. Yeah, maybe, but it isn't even the case this much. Oh, I set it up wrong. So yeah, I forgot what was I talking about. I was probably just ranting again, because I'm kinda pissed off on how this game is taking turns. Like, they're flexing with some literally early 2000s technology. So the game doesn't have any farming mechanics that are realistic or interesting. As for now, the game doesn't have any economical mechanics that are interesting. The game also eats more of your graphics card than it should. I mean, it uses more resources than it should for how it looks. So it's optimized absolutely terribly. The graphics also doesn't look this good even. Just if for example, this is FS 17, right? I sometimes kinda cope little about it, that it's not a game from 2016. It's just a shame that to even think of it as a game from 2016, because if you compare it to any other game from 2016, it looks hilarious. So I consider it some kind of 2007 game. Yeah, that would be it. Farming Simulator is like 8 years, always like about 8 years in the falling behind. Now it's even more, because they're sticking to the pastel graphics, and it's alright. I really like the pastel graphics, except if it was more well optimized and it wouldn't they wouldn't just ditch the diffuse textures on vehicles. Now everything looks like so these little models that you give kiddos, like the plastic models of some plastic metal models of some vehicles to play. This is the kind of feeling I get. Why is it going so slow? What is his problem? 2 hectares per hour? This has more efficiency than these two. What's his problem? So yeah, I wanted only to set up, not actually harvest. So I got to bring some trailers in here. Trucks, I mean. This one will go for the canola region, I'd say. Yeah, I am kind of pissed on how the game is about to look. And that nobody cares that it's basically the only farming simulator that is actually got any future. And sometimes when I complain, I hear it, oh, if you don't like what's approaching you, and or like if you don't like what's coming, then you don't have to buy it. Yeah, like of course not. I didn't buy FS22. I picked it up from Epic for free, because that's the adequate price. It should be an update for FS19, for which I paid too much because I bought it twice actually. So The thing is that the thing is that it's not like it's not like I don't like this game, I buy another farming game. There is not any other farming game, because every other was killed by Farming Simulator, and I have actually no idea how not a single studio was able to outperform them, because it's really not this hard. And the area to overmatch them is huge. I think that just is just the fact that simulators are kinda it's like the more unappreciated part of the gaming, because it's not like skill dependent or something. And I actually understand that somewhat. Because it isn't even a proper game, it's just like some kind of relax, let's say, theoretically, because often the fact that nobody wanted to make this game with some proper effort, you can obviously see it from the fact that, for instance, very often the most of the job is done by modders, from like optimization and new features. So yeah, I know it's always been the case that the modders are new, but like now Farming Simulator is an actual company, not some like indie trash game. It's an actual company, and they only like they're still not willing to do anything. And you know why? Because you don't expect them to do anything. You just see some new stuff. They will pack a pile of shit into a golden package, and you will call it, wow, it's so good. Like, because you don't compare on how much other games add. And I don't mean games that are already kinda sick. I mean sick that they are considered that their pace of adding content is tragic, like, I don't know, World of Tanks. But if you would compare it to like other games, the passage from FS19 to FS22 would be an update. The passage from FS13 to FS17 would be a free update in any other healthy game. But there you have to pay it for everything, or every single DLC to add like 2 vehicles. Oh, you're mad because you're poor. No, I know, I mean, yeah, that's kinda the thing, but like, who is willing to pay this much money for a simulator that's supposed to just relax you? By the way, I have to actually pay more, because the graphics card to play it smoothly on anything more than the boring vanilla is it's kinda tough. You have to have an actually proper graphics card to play the game with decent FPS. At least the older ones with the diffuse textures, because of course they switched to UDIM, maybe because it's well better optimized, and already it took them so long to, for example, install the rendering that doesn't render a thing that is behind a wall. Wow! It took them just like what, 15 years? It's in the FS22, and it should be back here in every other farm sim. Like, why you're playing the game? You're complaining so much. Yeah, because there isn't a single other farming simulator game, and I really like the concept. Oh, there are trailers. The concept is fine. The the graphics level for me, even if it would be better if it was lower, like the FS13 level. Actually, because you would just focus, you could just enhance lighting, enhance this. Where is what I'm trying to search right now? Any track, any track, any track. Somewhere there is the commas. Yep. So basically, so what? Yeah, I probably, like, for the 50 people max who watch this video to this point, like, I don't expect it to get any what higher, and it's already a high expectation to actually think of that 50 people watched it. Like, nobody would even think that I am right, probably, about the thing that you're all expecting not enough from the game, and you will buy it anyway, and that's why the game is so shit right now. That's the pretty much, if I'm pretty much blaming you all for the current state of the game, because you just make think giants that they're actually doing something. You just gratify them with your money for not sufficient effort. And that's why nobody would listen to me, because it's not comfortable to think of yourself as the guilty for the state of the game. Of course, you don't even realize the state of the game in the first place if you don't agree with me. Wasn't there the Ural? Smaller Ural. Oh yeah, it was in the other part of the map. So yeah, you wouldn't even think of me being right because I make you feel guilty or something, and that's not exactly comfortable. But just think of it. What could be the reason for these people to be this lazy? Because they are already gratified with the minimal work they do. So if the cash flow would stop or massively decrease, then they would maybe realize that something's wrong. Or maybe if the game was done by actually someone who does it for with a passion, not because some developer 15 years ago said that they need to do some shit ass farming game because they got pissed off at the Sim Tractor dude because he was Giga Chad and didn't want to make his game another AAA bullshit, and I don't know. I mean, for me Sim Tractor is too ugly to play, and it's actually kinda hard. My standards after playing Farming Simulator are kinda like that I expect everything to be kinda easy. But actually, it's better for the Sim Tractor because it actually requires you to use some brain or something. And I think if the Sim Tractor would keep up with the updates and stuff, it would actually be a far better game. The graphics would come this or other way. The fundamental thing is the convention you put the game in. Like, the Sim Tractor was about at the same time having fun, being relaxed, and also showing the complexity of some processes uh, or controls. For example, a simple thing that if you crash into a pylon, then your tractor will probably fry. And that's just simple things that add on the realism. I'm not even sure if I will be able to carry all of these trailers to the place I wanted them. You see, this map is so huge that it takes very long to just even prepare for some kind of field job. And also kind of another topic I would probably talk about in the future video. As I am Polish, I am like, I can only complain. I would complain on how the level design, which probably most farming simulator people don't know what even means, or maybe just my rude assumption, don't know what it means, and they just want their maps to be one-to-one copies from real life, not realizing what level design is and not realizing how to make a map that is actually interesting, because the one-to-one maps are like, yeah, it's alright, but something is always lacking in my opinion. Like, the best maps, one of the best maps ever are done with a bit of like salt, I don't know, a bit of salt, like they are done with sometimes it's even by people who don't live in a certain region. Let me explain. There was this German modding group, TSL, and they've been into DDR, I mean, you know, East Germany, Poland, Hungary, I mean, into that they were interested. And they would do maps from these regions, if I recall properly. And one of these maps was Gorzkowa. It wasn't even a Polish map, like it was placed in Poland, but it wasn't Polish. And most of people would recall it that it was a great map. It was like it didn't even like remind you of any village. It didn't have the climate. For example, the climate is that the map is flat and there is a single road and around it there's a village, which isn't the case in my opinion. Just for example, a lot of games have totally like older shooters like Half-Life or Stalker that have like maps that are completely taken out of the ass and they still got the climate. That the meaning of the word is kinda devoted from the, what it actually means, I think. I mean devoted. Why is it turning like that? I didn't order it to do it this way. So I think just that I just think that the game itself is no, not the game. I think that the level design presented in many maps is just boring. It's straight up boring. Like, remember the Felde or other maps? AK plays a lot of maps that are kind of this what I'm talking about, that their level design is actually thought that the map is supposed, the game map isn't supposed to be one-to-one realism, because in this case you would spend most of the time arriving at boring single landmarks. The map is supposed to pack as much content into small place as possible, even if the content in question is just a meadow. The meadow is supposed to be as interesting, it's supposed to be like the most interesting meadow that ever happened, right next to the most interesting forest that ever happened. Also cut down to size so the map is like, you know, reasonably sized. That's the thing, I think. That the maps in games are supposed to pack the most of the content, as much content into a small area as possible. I mean, not like they're cramped, but that they're using this space wisely. I don't know what is his problem. I really wish that any one of you would make a comment on if you agree or disagree with what I've just said, or more like ranted about, because it all seems that I've just been taking a shit for half an hour. And that... that I sometimes someone would say that I underappreciate or like underrate some efforts put into the game. Oh, I'm actually not even steering it! Just follow me! Lol. So, uh, so yeah, I think it's sometimes better to underrate someone so that they put more effort than to overrate someone and they will just leave it as it is. And I'm also aware that in a lot of games the modding community is doing more than the developers, and it's not uncommon. So that I'm mad that Giant Software is doing nothing, but the modder community has to do everything. But you know, it's pretty much an extreme case, because in most of the games modders like add some lighting or like enhance lighting or like enhance textures, but most of the assets and the core of the game is already there. And in Farming Simulator, the very core of the game is actually changed by the modders, and from a game that was supposed to take place on some stupid island, it actually took off to be anywhat realistic. And if it wasn't for the modders, I think it wouldn't be the case, because you could see that tendency. And you would say vanilla maps, yeah, vanilla maps were changed due to the modders. You could see that in FS09 there wasn't still official map support, map mod support. You would have to like do it in the do it yourself way. I don't know how to call it in English, the druciarstwo. But if you think of like FS11, when they added actually map mod support, the next farming simulator already had some proper looking maps. I mean, the original map actually was supposed to resemble some kind of real place. I mean, not a real, but you know that it's placed in some kind of region. So yeah, thank you for listening to this rant, and see you in the next video. Farewell.